After loading the car and slamming the car boot shut, she turned to see an elderly lady in tweeds with her arms crossed, standing staring at her. "Hello." Megan smiled. The old lady didn't return the smile. Instead, she barked out, "Who are you?" Megan explained she had come to paint Treweham Hall, feeling slightly prickled by the abruptness of this stranger. "Tobias has arranged for the hall to be painted. So much for being stony broke," she answered with a degree of conceit. "I'm not actually charging. It's to return a favour," chipped back Megan with a slight edge to her voice. "Is it really?" the old lady chuckled, then turned on her heel and strode back inside. Of all the cheek! Who on earth was that? Tobias threw his head back and laughed when Megan called in and told him about the strange meeting later that morning. Seeing him laugh instead of being stony-faced was a welcome change since the previous evening. He had finished all the downstairs of Ted's cottage and was now starting on the bedrooms. The kitchen looked wonderful with its fresh wooden units, newly plastered walls and French doors. It amazed Megan how quickly he and his workforce had completed it. "So, you've met Aunt Celia, then?" he said, smiling. Megan loved the way his cheeks dimpled when he laughed. It was a far cry from the sulky, furrowed face of last night. He had just showered, and his hair was still damp. She longed to run her fingers through it. He was wearing a black polo shirt, unbuttoned, revealing the dark shadow of hair on his chest, which Megan's eyes homed in on. He had been busy stripping the bedroom walls all morning, and had decided to call it a day. He needed to speak to Megan at some point to tell her about Ted, but couldn't think of how or when. Then inspiration came to him as he recalled Ted's conversation. He had mentioned Quercus Woods being a special place for him and Grace. Tobias thought he would take Megan there with a picnic and tell her the whole story of Ted and Grace. He didn't want to put it off any longer. He didn't feel right that he knew and she didn't. After all, it was her grandfather and grandmother. "This looks interesting." Megan pointed towards the wicker basket on the side. He had rung the kitchen staff at the hall that morning and asked them to prepare a picnic hamper. One of the girls had dropped it off just before Megan called. "I was just about to phone you." "We're going on a picnic," he said decisively. "Are we?" Megan looked over the basket, longing to see what was inside. All good stuff if it came from Treweham Hall, no doubt. "Yes, to Quercus Woods." "Ah, Quercus Woods. I used to go there with Gran." Megan's mind filled with memories of old oak trees dappled with sunlight, bluebells, wild garlic and a bubbling stream. "Let's go." Tobias ushered her out of the French doors and checked his back pocket. Yes, the photograph was still there. He drove the short distance to the woods. "You've thought of everything." Megan looked him up and down. He was carrying the picnic hamper and a rug from the back seat of his car. "Always come prepared." Tobias grinned back. Together they ambled through the oak trees until they both decided on a secluded spot by the stream. Tobias spread out the rug on the mossy ground and they sat huddled side by side, listening to the sound of trickling water. "Did you enjoy last night?" Megan asked quietly. Tobias sighed. "No." "Why? Don't you like Gary and Tracy?" "I don't like what they've done to the gatehouse. It made me regret selling it." "But did you have any choice?" Tobias gave a wry smile. She was intuitive enough to know he wouldn't have parted with it, unless absolutely necessary. "No, I didn't, and yes, their money's as good as anyone else's. But to see it like that, with all its vulgar decor, it just—" He paused for a moment and threw a pebble in the stream. "Tell me," Megan gently urged. "The gatehouse was supposed to be mine and Carrie's, after we were married. She had such plans for it. We both did." I can't help but think what could have been.